Here's the key. If you're doing it through Christ, and then Philippians 4:13, we can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. And if we're praying and fasting, and stewardship is a greater asset than any monetary value.
That's real.
You don't have to have money if you got stewardship.
Yeah.
God will give you wisdom.
Yeah.
That's what Solomon asked for, wisdom.
Yep.
And if you have the wisdom, you can get the money.
Listen.
The farm.
Yeah.
And then what was so unique about it, on the other side, my granddaddy and them didn't have anything and didn't want anything. All they wanted to do was work on the farm.
Yep.
And it hurted me.
Yeah.
I knew where my granddaddy and them, we grew up. And they used to take us over on the plantation.
Yeah.
And what happened?
One. Are we live?
You gotta do the
All right, we're live.
You gotta do the countdown.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Just Gotta Make It podcast. We are leveling up. We got mics today, and this is our first time using them. It took us about 2 hours to set them up, but God is faithful. We're gonna put Meyer on the payroll, and he is gonna help me with these mics. Guys, this interview has been 2 years in the making, and I'm so excited that we are finally here. This is actually my first official guest outside of Meyer. So guys, welcome my dad, Mr. Romeo Holly. Say hi, Daddy, to the people.
Hello, hello.
Guys, Meyer kept telling me that, hey guys, in the background, we don't need any background noise. Appreciate
it's not
it.
gonna pick it up.
It will pick it up.
My bad.
Okay, Meyer kept telling me this interview would never happen and my dad wouldn't do it, but we proved him wrong. Good job, Daddy. Okay, here we go. So for those of you who have been watching for a while, you guys know that my dad is kind of the mastermind behind the house that we're sitting in. If you don't know our journey, we started off in an RV as a family of 5. We got a lot of kids. Yeah, 5, and then 5 then. So there's 6 of us now, and we lived in that little bitty RV. Really, it was a camper trailer. Meyer always tells me to correct it because it was so small. But anyway, so we lived in that. We paid off debt, and then we DIY built this house. And so I've been wanting to just pick my dad's brain behind that, and especially with just the economy that we're going into or that we have right now. I just want to give you guys some ideas and, you know, learn some wisdom and stuff from back in the day. All right, Daddy. So some things that people want to know. I've been keeping tab of some questions and stuff, and then just some questions that we thought would be good. First of all, the people want to know, they say you move really good. So how old are you? The people want to know.
Oh, don't say that.
Yes. How old are you, Daddy?
Well, that's quite a bit to ask, but 67.
Oh, wow. I didn't even know that. Okay, so that made you 65 when we were building the house?
Yes, ma'am.
Wow. So if you saw the house build, he was getting down with us. He could almost hang with us. Right, Daddy?
Almost.
No, but for real, he was moving better than us, and a lot of y'all commented about that, so that's a big deal. So how much experience do you have building homes? Like, when did you start building homes, being a carpenter, things like that?
I really got started in junior high.
Oh, wow. At school?
At school.
They taught y'all how to build houses at school?
Well, yes, they prepare you for going out to the workforce, and they want you to have a trade. So I took carpentry and bricklaying, and I won state bricklaying, but I was disqualified because I had a cast on one hand.
Oh, shucks. First of all, I don't think that I knew. Oh, wow. Okay, so with them whoever's making the little Meyer.
That's your son.
Okay, guys, this is our first podcast, so we don't know how to be professional. Somebody's doing plastic noises back there.
Oh, my bad.
Okay, so do you feel like schools should go back to teaching trades in middle school?
Well, I feel if the schools went back to teaching trades in middle school, it would create a better work ethic, and you would know what to expect when you get into the job force.
So do you think people working now have a bad work ethic?
Well, I think people now are just clocking in and clocking out.
That's real. That's a common complaint. Okay, so middle school is when you started. So that gives you lots of years of experience. Okay, so when me and Meyer told you that we wanted to build our own house, what were you thinking?
Are they serious?
What made you think, are we serious? And what made you decide that we were for real?
Well, at first, you never could decide on the location.
That's true. He means the location on the land, because it's stressful, Daddy. You got to decide what direction you want it to go, and that's a lot of stress.
Yeah, but you got to have some idea of the location before you can even strategize the planning.
Okay, so when did you decide that we were pretty serious about it?
After we sit up and laid out string lines, and then we come back, and then we move string lines, and then we put string lines back where they were, I knew we had a problem.
Oh, okay. Okay, but you entertained us, so you must have thought that that we would see it through, right?
Well, I knew once we got the footing in and all the hard work, you wouldn't dare move it.
Well, okay. Here's my question. Me and Maya talk about this all the time. I don't know if those of y'all that were watching remember this, but we started building our house and we literally finished our house right before wood prices. What did wood prices do? Double? Triple? It was crazy. So I remember you telling us to start building our house before we knew how we were going to pay for building our house. And before we had everything kind of like the logistics figured out of like, cause I kind of wanted everything to be perfect, but you were like, we just need to start now. What made you say that? Like what was that about?
Well, I seen the wood prices go and come over the years. Mm-hmm. And when you have hurricanes or natural disasters, mm-hmm. or if you have an academic, outbreak, the prices tumble because the workforce weakens.
But did we? Okay, yeah, we did know it was COVID, right? I think we knew it was COVID. But yeah, I felt as though it was almost like just discernment, like you just knew that we needed to make a move. No.
Well, doing it time after time.
Yeah.
You just got to know when to do it because prices move and then your estimate will change, mm-hmm. and you'll miss your projection mark, and then that's just bad business.
Yeah. Is there anything that you would do differently with the house building process?
Well, with the house building process, looking back on COVID, mm-hmm. I probably would have gathered and stockpiled more materials. Mm-hmm. And that way we could have saved on costs. Yeah. And we could have saved on time because COVID kind of affected the timeline of mm-hmm. the completion date. Yeah.
Even though, how long did it take to build the house, y'all? 2 months? No, I think it was like
no, it was about 5 months, 6 months.
6 months, yeah. We built it by ourselves in 6 months. Isn't that pretty, well, compared to how long it's been taking them to build houses now, that was pretty fast.
Well, yeah, and we wanted to stay with the projection and the timeline. The average timeline on a loan is 6 months for the house to be completed. Yeah. And so we wanted to stay with that because when you do that, it keeps down the interest rates, it keeps down costs.
But we didn't have a loan.
But we still want to shoot for that as if we had a loan. Yeah. And that gave us something to strive to. That's true. And gave us a projection mark.
That's smart. What was the most challenging part about building the home or building the home with family? Or because we were pretty much a working team. So what was the most challenging part?
The most challenging part that you wasn't construction workers and everybody just kept getting their feelings hurt. And it's not about feelings. It's about what we got done at the end of the day. We're not concerned with feelings. We're concerned with production.
We're all laughing because all of us are here that was here during the process. Y'all, we were getting up, like my parents were getting to our house like at about 6 a.m. every morning. And then there was a month where you took off of work, Daddy, because you weren't retired then. He took off his job for a whole month, and that was work. That was hard work. What kept you motivated in that heat for a whole back-to-back coming at 6 a.m.?
Well, we had to get it done before the weather took a turn on us. Yeah. And we was trying to beat the weather, mm-hmm. and Texas weather is unpredictable, so we had to take advantage of every day that we had.
Y'all, we were working on the roof, and I think it was 103 degrees or something like that. What was it?
It was 103.
Yeah, it was real life Texas 103. So, yeah, that was hard. Okay, so one thing that Myra and I always talk about, Daddy, when we talk about you is that you're the most resourceful person that we know. Where does this come from? How is this skill, how'd you acquire the resourcefulness skill?
Well, the resourcefulness is when you grow up in the country, you don't have anything. So you have to take what you have and figure out how to make it work.
Okay, so you have to take what you have and make it work. Okay, so let me ask you this. Have you thought through how resourcefulness could then elevate us to the next level? Because you're talking about coming from nothing. I obviously didn't come from nothing, but we have the opportunity to go to the next level. Was that your thought process? Like, okay, this could help you guys go to the next level, or what was your thought process behind that?
Well, I think the thought process behind that, if you could be effective and complete this bill, it would give you the goal that there would be no challenge too big ahead, because when you started out, you knew nothing, but you was willing to try.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of growth. And in growing, you're going to have growing pains.
Yeah.
And things that used to would offend you, you will learn that it would also help you.
Yeah. No, that is true. Like, once we did achieve this, it did give us a confidence that, oh, you know what, we can do all these other crazy things that we think we want to do. One of the things that Meyer and I talk about a lot too is I don't think we understand the significance yet of how this house is going to set us up in the future, because we this house could then generate income, and we talk about that with our followers, and that then could set up us to build another home, and then this could be the home that your grandkids live in. And one thing I think about too is that the Bible says to leave an inheritance for your children's children. Did you think of this home as an inheritance for your children's children? Is that something that you thought about, that is the way that it could be used?
Well, not only that, and the children's, they don't know, and a lot of people don't know what I did because I worked at another job for 30 plus years. So a lot of people just don't even know, And when I did this back home, I traveled around. So they really didn't know what I do. They just knew I was out of town. And it's, it's a heritage, and you got a legacy. You can say we built our own house.
Yeah.
And even the grandkids and the girls, they was out there taking hammers and shovels.
Yeah.
And it was unique. We had small hammers, small shovels, and stuff like that. And they feel that they was a part of building their own house.
Yeah. And now they have just a whole different perspective on life. Like, we laugh about it, but when we drive past them building neighborhoods, they're like, oh, they're building their house. Like, studs and stuff and nails are normal to them. And I think that's something they're gonna take with them. Like, I talk about that in my book, how even just the vision part of it, they didn't see a house here and then they saw a house here. So now when they see somebody else setting up for a house, they're like, oh, they're building a house. Like, they have this faith level, I think, that other kids don't have because they saw us build this one. And so, yeah, I think that was very, very helpful. Okay, so I was reading an article this morning that says that at the end of 2023, you can't talk about politics, Daddy. The end of 2023 going into the beginning of 2024, we could be entering into one of the longest and hardest recessions that we've ever seen. So what would be your advice because we have a lot of young adults, like lower 30s and stuff, that watch our channel. What would be your advice for them that are just trying to make it, just trying to get their head above water as far as a home, land? Like, what are some things that they should be thinking about?
Well, one thing, you gotta stretch yourself. It's easy to just go out and have somebody to do it. But if you do it yourself, you'll appreciate it, and you'll take good care of it.
Yeah.
And in that process, you are engraving stewardship within yourself. And you'll find, it's an old saying that they say, another man's trash is another man's treasure. We won't be so quick to just discard things. We'll hold on to it. And some of the very things you hold on to will get you through any recession.
Yeah.
It'll become resourceful, it'll become useful.
I think that's something that probably was a challenge for you, that we weren't as careful with stuff in the beginning, right?
Well, the biggest problem with that, every time I looked for a piece of wood to use, you all had took my wood and threw it in the trash.
Oh, man.
I had to retrieve it.
Okay, So I think this is one of my final questions, unless I forgot anything. Meyer, Mommy, Davion, y'all can chime in if y'all had any other questions. So I know that you are a skilled carpenter, and the people know that, but you're also a minister of the gospel. And so what would you say, this podcast is about, like, just got to make it. So how can people make it in their finances and stuff? I think a lot of people nowadays are doing podcasts about, being a millionaire and everything like that. But I really my heart is showing people how they can really survive out of, nothing. And really it's not just about money. It's about your whole being and who you are. And really, I think if you have faith in Christ, you can really do anything. But what would you leave with this generation, or, people watching this podcast in regards to, spiritual lessons that could be learned from this experience or anything like that?
What I would leave with them is, you have to always look at another person, as Paul did in 1 Corinthians 9. Mm-hmm. Paul said, I become all things that I may win some for Christ. Mm-hmm. We need to look at another person through a positive eye. Mm-hmm. As we look at them, we need to see some of ourselves within them, because we all have shortcomings. And then be willing to take a chance on anybody. You'll get burned sometime. Mm-hmm. But the Word of God says, if we'll take care of His business, He will take care of our business.
Yeah.
Matthew 6:33. That's what seeking the kingdom is. It's not about us, about taking care of others. And if we take care of others, it'll come full circle. We'll be taken care of.
Yeah. That's good. Any other questions? Yes, Davion.
What is your advice to those that are trying to start down the same path? They're, beginners or whatnot?
As far as what he does? Okay. So the question was, what is his advice for beginners or somebody that might be trying to start down the same path?
My advice, criticism. A lot of people take criticism to be negative, but criticism is a good tool to motivate you, to drive you. You're going to have the naysayers.
Yeah.
They think they're harming you, but that's a lot of help. They will give you the drive you need to go to the next level.
So you're saying when somebody say, "Oh, you can't do it," or "You're not gonna finish it," we should not be like crying about that. We should take that to let it motivate us.
Right. Let that motivate you, and because failure is the main cause and number one driver of success.
Yeah.
When you fail, you don't give up.
Yeah.
You try over and over again, and you learn through your mistakes.
Yeah.
You got to have the mistakes.
Do you feel like Meyer and I have grown through this process?
Well, I'm sure you have, and then you have other friends and stuff, and they may have more resources than you have.
Yeah.
But you can help them to protect their resources.
Yeah, that's real.
But you got to have an ear. If they have an ear, they can save a lot of money.
Yeah.
You need to learn from other people's mistakes.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it goes back to godly wisdom. Like that godly wisdom and discernment and stewardship. I think that's what we've grown in a lot. And I know y'all hear us on the podcast talk about this, on the channel talk about this all the time, but we talk about just the grace of God and how me even stepping back from my career for a season to get the kids off the ground, how we've still been able to achieve similar or more milestones than people working with double, triple the income that we have.
Well, here's the key. If you're doing it through Christ, and then Philippians 4:13, we can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. And if we're praying and fasting, and stewardship is a greater asset than any monetary value.
That's real.
You don't have to have money if you got stewardship.
Yeah.
God will give you wisdom.
Yeah.
That's what Solomon asked for, wisdom.
Yep.
And if you have the wisdom, you can get the money.
Listen, I was reading Proverbs. What was it? Proverbs. Let me not give y'all the wrong scripture.
I think it was chapter 4.
Chapter 4:3. One of those. I'll put it on the screen. But it was talking about with wisdom, wisdom in your right hand and riches in your left, because the wisdom will bring riches. And that may look different in each season. The riches may look different in each season. But I was telling Meyer that. And then in the chapter after that, it was talking about, if you don't get nothing else, even if you spend your last, get wisdom. Pretty much there's an exchange for wisdom. And that is what's going to bring the wealth. But some of us are chasing wealth and not wisdom. And then we'll get the wealth and blow it off because we don't have the wisdom.
But, and I'll say this. God gives us all the same opportunity.
Yeah.
What happens is not God. We put ourselves in a box. We put limits on ourselves. Because the scripture says, God have no respect of person.
Yeah.
If he will allow one person to prosper, he will allow another.
Yeah.
You just have to seek God for your channel.
Yeah.
You know, and your season. See, we often don't move.
That's good.
And that was one thing going back to the house bill. What I was looking at, you got to do this while it's your season. You have to seize the moment.
Yeah.
Hindsight has never been 2020.
Yeah.
If God told you to do it, you got to step out on faith and say, if God told me to do it, he'll see me through it.
Yeah. And it was a lot of faith. Because when we laid down those piers, I remember thinking, how in the world are we going to pay for this? And that's when God was just opening up door after door after door. Even them crazy COVID checks that we paying for now. Like, even that, we didn't know that was coming. And so it was just being in step with the Holy Spirit and what he was asking us to do. Yeah, I think 100%. 100%. So did you have to rely on faith, or you just kind of knew we're going to be able, you have full faith in yourself that you're going to put this house up, or you knew it was going to take God? Like,
well, you know, I just prayed about it, and I'm just saying, is this something they really want to do?
Yeah.
It's a lot of work, and I knew I didn't have a lot of help.
Yeah.
But I said, if I got the wisdom, and if they can just give what muscle they got, and I knew that I could get the best out of them.
Yeah.
Because that's one thing that God gave me. I don't worry about people's feelings.
Yeah, we know.
I mean, that's the last thing. My job and my call from God is to help people.
Yeah.
I've never been a babysitter.
Oh.
I have to give that credit to my wife.
A babysitter.
And that's it, you know, you just got to push people to the limit to get the best out of them.
Yeah, and you say that, but also, Daddy, I feel like I was talking to Meyer, I think the other day, we were talking about the reason that we were able, okay, so there's a guy that I watch, and he talks about the reason why families are experiencing poverty like never before is because they no longer have a family business. And so Meyer and I were kind of debating back and forth whether families can work together or not. I said, no, I think that families can work together. I think it's God's perfect will, but I believe that communication is the key, and I believe that's where families struggle. But I was saying how it was, I didn't realize how, what did I say? How before their time my parents were to sit us down at the table and actually talk to us. Yeah. So like, you guys were before your time. Where did that wisdom come from? Because now it's all like, you know, gentle parent, I'm not trying to make fun of gentle parenting, but like, the kid rules the house. Like, that's not gentle parenting, but y'all know what I'm saying. You got to do all these we on the internet, so people gonna get mad. But this was before the time of even listening to what your kids have to say. So what gave you and Mommy the wisdom to say, like, hey, what are your thoughts? Because I feel like that helped us get through the challenges that we face building the home, too.
Well, you just can't become an adult overnight.
Yeah.
You have got to be allowed to fall and to make choices. And that's how you get through life.
Yeah.
And, in the ministry we do, a lot of people go in, and when I stand up, they say, here come that guy. But I'm not there to make you feel good.
Yeah.
If I can get you uncomfortable enough, then you'll get out your comfort zone and you'll strive, and I can get the best out of you through the power of God. And that's what it's all about. Now we're just worried about people's feelings.
Right, but I'm saying, I know that you're not worried about our feelings, but you are. Like, you've always listened to what we had to say. So where does that, is that just like spiritual humility, or what caused that? Like,
well, what caused that with me, what I had to say didn't mean anything. And when I was growing up.
Oh, okay.
And you got to understand, I worked on this farm, and I knew who I was working for.
Yeah.
But I had to work for those people because that was our lifeline at the time.
Yeah, that's real.
And everybody know what's out there. But a lot of those organizations that are out there now, we knew who they were when we was going to school. But we lived in their father's houses. And that was our lifeline.
Yeah.
So those very people that they was talking about, to us, they wasn't as bad as other people thought they was, because that was all we had. So we knew we had to figure out a way to be heard.
Yeah.
And once you let a person voice their opinion, it frees them up. And I
Yeah.
wanted you all to be free.
That's good. We appreciate that. It means a lot. Or you said something. Oh, you know, it's kind of trendy now to go and buy some acreage. And I think people don't understand how much work it is, because Meyer and I had no idea how in over our heads we were getting. Yeah, and so just so y'all know, even my dad is the reason now that our land looks even decent, even halfway decent. So what is your suggestion for people who want to buy like some land and stuff like that? What do they need to know, like, before they get it? Like, what are they getting into? Because you mentioned the farm things, that reminded me of that.
Well, the best way to know if you want to go on a journey or not, you need to just get with somebody that's been through it.
Yeah.
And just do some gardening or do some clearing, or cutting a few trees.
Yeah.
And experience what it's all about. Because if you're going to endeavor out on this journey, a lot of people, and get some real numbers.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and you never go in the bottom. You want to always price in the middle. But if you want to be safe, do your pricing at the top, and then pray about where you want to come in at.
Yeah.
Because when you buy some land, it'll cost you as much to clear it and clean it as what it did to purchase it.
Yep, we did not know that.
And upkeep is very essential.
Yes, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of tree huggers out there, but trees can be a good thing, or trees can be a bad thing. And I'm saying to the young folks, if you think you're having trouble maintaining it now, give it 10 years. You won't even want to go out and cut the grass.
But do you think that, especially for black people or people of color, minorities, do you think it's essential for us to own land now? Like, do you think that's important?
I think it's very essential to own land now.
Yeah.
And one thing about my dad and them, they had a farm.
Yeah.
And then what was so unique about it, on the other side, my granddad and them didn't have anything and didn't want anything. All they wanted to do was work on a farm.
Yep.
And it hurted me.
Yeah.
I knew where my granddaddy and them, we grew up, and they used to take us over on the plantation.
Yeah.
And what happened, those very people living on the plantation, they broke their spirits. They didn't want to own their own property.
Yeah.
And here was my dad and them, they strived and had their own farm. And so that was hard for me to decipher which route was right.
Right. Yeah.
You know, but yes, you need to get all you can. And as a friend of mine say, especially our culture, you need your own land.
Yeah.
And you don't need to sell it. There's not going to be any more land.
You hear that, grandkids?
It's not going to be any more land,
God
so
ain't
you don't
making
need
no
to
more land.
release it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You need to hold on.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no money amount that can get you land.
Yes. Yes. That, and land is also your house. Like, if your parents leave you a house, I think now more than ever you hold on to that. I think that because people just think of land as acreage, but even, you know, your grandma's house, even if you think it's running in the ground and it's not Instagram worthy, you need to be fixing that thing up. Oh, one more question. I keep saying one more question. It's like the Baptist preachers before we close. One thing that also set us up on this journey was you guys allowing Meyer and I to stay with y'all while we saved for our first home, which generated income for us to buy. We flipped that home and then we bought this land. And then, so just for people who don't know, one of the things I talk about on my channel is one of the biggest generational curses I believe on black people, I'm not even gonna say minorities because other minorities have it figured out, is kicking their kids out at 18 years old. Why did you and mommy decide that that's not something that y'all were going to do?
Well, one thing, being in the ministry that I'm in, a lot of those guys,
That's the,
and the ladies too,
yeah, it's prison ministry.
prison ministry,
Yeah.
it's not their fault. They land there because of this good landmark we have in America of foster care. Those kids.
There we go. Okay, so you were saying before the camera cut off, you were saying that the lot of the people in the prison system, they were in the foster care system first.
Right.
Okay.
And within the foster care system, and once they turns 18, everybody are not in it for those kids.
Yeah, it's true.
And when the money stops, they have to move on.
Yeah.
And you think in foster care, those foster parents, they are not sending them off to school. They are sending them out to the streets.
Yeah.
And so penitentiary is not a real bad outlet for them. They're out there hurting and they're trying to go somewhere. And I said, I'd rather for my kids to be here with me and to get some stability than to go out there into that world and are not equipped.
Yeah. I didn't know that. And that's real, because I was talking with a young lady, and that's her story, and that's, man, I didn't know that connection. Well, we appreciate it. We appreciate everything that you guys have done for us. We are where we are because of that privilege, because it's a privilege. Everybody don't get two parents in this world, and so thanks for doing the podcast. And
I want to say one more thing before we close.
Yeah.
And I think one thing that I found it being an opportunity to also to get the bond, both families together.
Yeah.
Doing the bill. And, you know, and we look at it, God brought us together.
Yeah.
Let's just show people what can really come out of it.
Yeah.
You know, it's a team effort.
Yeah.
Yes.
Somebody commented that on the video. They were like, it's so refreshing to see, you know, really a black families coming together to make this happen. So yeah, I agree. God definitely did a good work in that. Yeah. Anything else?
Well, you know, I'm just glad I was able to help you with the video.
Yeah.
It's a time issue. You just don't know how busy.
I know. I'm glad you penciled us in. I really do appreciate that. I'm sure the people will appreciate it too. Yeah. I think we just need wisdom like this. I think it's awesome that people, you know, 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds are making videos online now, but I think it's always good to get wisdom.
And you know, and to those young people, it's like a baby walking. You need to step out now, fall, get up, go. Fall, get up, go. You got recovery time.
Yeah.
You know, and
without recovery. So you're just saying just fail fast, pretty much. That's what I learned in business school. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But you got to get up.
Keep going. Dust
Try
yourself
it again.
off.
Dust yourself off and go again.
Yeah.
Well, you got to remember what David says. You know, when nobody else will encourage you, you got to encourage yourself in the Lord and keep going.
Yeah. That's real.
That's all I have.
All right. Bye, guys. Thanks for joining us.